There's been one active shooter incident a week since January of 2018.
It's unfortunate, but in this day and age, we have to be prepared for such disasters. We've seen shootings like this in Las Vegas and many other cities, and oftentimes in schools. And being a school here, a medical school, we wanted to be prepared.
That's why law enforcement, emergency personnel, schools, and universities around the country are training for such an incident if it were to occur.
We know that in an active shooter situation, we have about 7 to 10 minutes. I'm former law enforcement from California. I've been in the shooting myself, so I understand all the different anxieties and different feelings that you go through as a citizen, as a law enforcement officer, EMS, and the main function is to stop that shooter from hurting people.
About 60 to 80 people gathered at Rocky Vista University for an active shooter drill where authorities could practice their responses. The faculty and staff also took part in the exercise.
We either had to run or hide. So we had evacuation points, we have safe rooms where the employees knew where to go beforehand. And so once they heard those gunshots, adrenaline started pumping and heartbeat started racing, but people responded very well.
Help. Oh.
This is the first time they've ever held a joint exercise like this with other police and sheriff's officers and first responders.
We'll be right back. So we really enjoy doing these exercises. It gives us an opportunity to find the layout. It gives our officers the opportunity to test their skill sets.
It was evident that while some officers were more brazen and tended to ignore the victims on the side, others were a little more cautious. In a real event, victims or hostages would be asked to do what officers command them to do in order to stay safe.
Again, allow us to see your hands. Obey any lawful commands that a police officer gave you. If you're ordered to the ground, stay on the ground. If you're asked to exit, please exit. Just do as you're told so that we can mitigate that threat.
After the threat was eliminated by several officer teams, it was time for the first responders. Acting victims played their roles well and were made up with fake blood to add a sense of realism to the training.
Oh, I'm dying, not dead.
Oh. He's not dead yet.
It hurts a lot less than you think.
This is a really cool experience, and to see kind of what happens and to know what to do.
With the moulage, it gets patients kind of as real as possible for our paramedics and EMTs to deal with, and adds a little element of stress.
I need some maybe some Percocet.
Patient victims had to be prioritized by their wounds. They were tagged by paramedics before moving to the next.
All of us have been shot.
But every patient needs to be looked at and evaluated as quick as possible, and then re-evaluated a little more detailed a little later.
The real-life hysterical moments made the training real as paramedics began removing them.
Hey, how's that pain? Are you breathing a little better? Okay.
How'd you guys feel? Did that kind of stretch us a little bit? Did you feel overwhelmed at all?
A little bit. I mean, no.
No, not at all.
This training even went so far as to include emergency medical flights. Both Life Flight and Mercy Medical made their landings. This gave medical responders experience in receiving landing zone training as well as loading victims aboard the flights.
That's right, we had 25 moulage victims. Some were serious, about 6 serious. We had a few deceased, and the rest were walking wounded.
A debriefing or hot wash went over the day's events, which took only a total of 2 hours.
I mean, the whole principle of this scenario is so we make the mistakes here and we learn from them so it doesn't happen in that real life situation.
Somebody's going to come back and get you in just a minute, okay?
But it's something that, now that I have a flavor for, I actually wish more people would have opportunities to do those sorts of things, to actually trust first responders.
Law enforcement, first responders, and even the talented actor patients all work together as a team. And after months of planning, the simulated exercise was deemed a collaborative success.
Today's exercise went very, very well. It's really nice to have this interface with the community. It's really nice to see all these agencies coming together and doing well. So from our side, it's a great success.
In Ivins, Melissa Anderson, CEC News.